Here are 10 things I wish I knew before I went to culinary school that would have greatly helped shed some light on what to expect while I was there and what happens once you graduate. Beginning with how much class time there actually was. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm totally down for understanding the fundamentals and of course, getting that degree down on a piece of paper. But I had no clue we'd be sitting in a lecture as much as we did. I thought culinary school was a majority of being in the kitchen and maybe barely ever would I be sitting in a chair in a classroom. Well, I'd say by the time I graduated, it was closer to 40-60, maybe even 50-50 classroom lecture to actually getting hands-on and crafting your skills in the kitchen.
I was way off.
Thank you, Lloyd. Next up, number 2, learning recipes is way down the ladder of importance. A lot of people ask me if I knew a bunch of recipes when I got out of culinary school. And yes, while you do learn how to make recipes, the main focus was on mastering the techniques and procedures so that you could even make a specific recipe. Going through how to properly season things, how to saute, grill, braise, smoke, you name it. The main goal of culinary school is to send you out with a solid foundation of how to cook and way less of a priority on knowing and memorizing recipes. Next up, number 3, you'll most likely be out of the industry a few years after graduating. I will never forget on my first day of culinary school, the L'Ecole instructor, which was our student-run public restaurant, welcomed us all in and told us what we could expect. I was so amped up, but then he finished with these words. Stop for a second and look around this room. 75% of you won't be in the industry within 4 years of graduation. Yeah, right. Not me, I love this way too much. Well, I made it 4 years before I decided to shift gears, change up my majors, and go back to school. That's just a testament to how hard the business really is. Number 4, the amount of cutting that actually takes place. Yes, of course, it's culinary school. You're going to be cutting, small dicing, chiffonading, all the things. But my word, the amount of cutting we did was enough to give you carpal tunnel. The school I went to was notorious for perfecting knife cuts, and in fact, we were very often graded on those cuts. The perfect julienne, the tournée, every single cut was graded, and if it wasn't good enough, you had to go back and do it again. It's about repetition and getting your mind and hands in the right place to make the same cut over and over and over again so that everything is completely consistent. Now, with that being said, you better always, and I mean always, have a sharp knife or you're not gonna make it. Moving along, it's harder to get the job you want out of school than you think. I thought I was gonna hop right into this sous chef position just because I was a culinary school graduate. And not to mention, the school promised they had loads of connections. Still not sure that was true. Regardless, the job you want will most likely have to wait because the normal road to navigate usually starts as a line cook. And unfortunately, the pay isn't awesome down there either. However, things have vastly improved in this area in the last 25 years, and hey, what's wrong with getting a few roommates? Those first few years after graduating were some of my life's funnest memories. But in the end, expect it to be harder than you thought to get right into your desired spot and position. Now, however, I will say that the culinary degree is almost always a foot in the door at the very least. And this segues perfectly into the next one. Just because you went to culinary school in no way means you're a chef. Now, this is only my personal opinion, as this term is very near and dear to my heart. Just because you can now cook a little bit, there isn't a piece of paper, there isn't a kitchen position, there in fact is nothing you can do to be given the title of chef. It is a term that is earned when other people in the industry verify that you indeed are. While excellent cooking skills, management of people, and creativity are certainly a part of it, there's quite a bit more. A chef is a friend, a teacher, a plumber, an electrician, a woodworker, a miracle maker. He's the person you call if you're in the drunk tank and need to get bailed out at 3 a.m. Being a chef comes with age and wisdom, and to be honest, I'd even ditch the chef in Chef Billy Parisi if I could. Now, back in the day when I started doing all this, someone introduced me as that, and well, it just sort of stuck. With me heading back to the restaurant industry, I certainly hope I can build the trust and respect of the kitchen staff that I may truly be knighted and crowned as such a prestigious word. And let's get moving to number 7, the diversity of ingredients you get to work with. Culinary school can kind of leave you jaded once you hop in the real world of professional cooking. Really because you so much take for granted all the amazing different ingredients you got to work with. Foie gras, fresh lobster, 100-year-old balsamicos, fresh doughs, nasturtiums, eel, wagyu steak, sea urchins. Honestly, the list goes on. You think after you graduate that all these things will be at your disposal, except restaurants have things like food costs, labor costs, rent, insurance, and you trying to create a dish that costs the restaurant $100 to make isn't really feasible or high on that list in the real world. So while you're there, soak it in, because real life is right at your next gig. All right, moving on to number 8, school can really be expensive. Maybe, just maybe, I should have gone the apprenticeship route. Don't get me wrong, I learned a ton in culinary school and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But if you can find it, and if there's a really great chef willing to teach you, becoming a commis or a chef in training through an apprentice is probably just as good and oftentimes better than going the culinary school route. For one, culinary school is a whole lot more expensive now than it was back when I was there. And when those loans start to hit while you're making 15 bones an hour, you start to think a little more about how strategic your decision was. And the second point, the best chef I've ever worked for in my life to this day never went to culinary school. He did an apprenticeship overseas, and seriously, this dude knew everything. I worked for him when I got out of the business professionally and was in school full time. I would come in every day and ask him about the craziest dishes from all over the world, and he knew every one. Every single one. Now, still to this day, it blows my mind. The man is an absolute beast in the kitchen and without an official piece of paper from a culinary school. All right, let's keep moving on. Number 9, how much creativity you get to have. They say the culinary world is equal parts science and art. I gravitate towards the latter. When you're in school and have all these different ingredients at your disposal, you get to let your brain run wild on all the incredible dishes you get to create. We would do these things called market baskets, where it was a bunch of random ingredients and there would be maybe a time cap and you had to come up with a dish for the chef instructors to grade. Now, I absolutely love doing this and I still do. It's a time to show off all those creative skills. But let me tell you, once you get your first few gigs and you have these amazing dishes you personally think are just gonna change the world, you walk into the chef's office with your ideas and you leave with his amazing dish ideas instead. And last but not least, how little about food you actually know when you graduate. One of my favorite chef instructors to this day, Chef Humphrey, always said this phrase in our basics class, that he only knew a little bit about a whole lot. Now, that line never really made sense to me at the time, but a few years after graduating, I started to sense the exact same feeling. I didn't know anything about Nicaraguan cuisine or Swedish food or Vietnamese or Ethiopian or name the country or ethnic group. I knew majority French and Italian when I graduated, and that was it. I didn't realize until years later that this was going to be a lifelong journey of learning new techniques, flavors, and foods. But man, was I in shock when someone asked me if I had had El Pastor or kibbeh in the year after I graduated school. Like, what? I had no idea. Knowing food just comes with time, but even at the age of 44, I still feel like I only know a little bit about a whole lot. Okay, I know I said there was 10 things, but how about a bonus of 3 more? Here you go. At least 50% of the things you learn in culinary school actually don't come from the chef instructors. So much of what I learned came from my peers. We had people from all over the country, and all over the world for that matter, that were bringing their own experiences to school, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I learned from them and their techniques of making specific foods, or just their knowledge in general. If you keep your ears open, be a sponge, and soak up as much as you can from your fellow classmates. It'll make the experience that much better. Okay, number 12. It's actually okay to mess something up in culinary school, most of the time. You see, in school, there really isn't any worrying over food costs because, well, your tuition also goes to all that food in addition to the chefs in school. If you mess up the risotto, it's fine. You can make a new batch. If the crostata didn't turn out, it's cool. You can make another one. Now, if you're making something that was expected to be served in the restaurant school, there wasn't always a makeup or enough time for that matter to do it over. But for the most part, making mistakes is a part of the process of learning, and it's definitely okay if it happens. Okay, finally, number 13, and probably my favorite one, the lifelong friends that you're going to make. I graduated in the year 2000, and I've connected with several people I went to school with and still keep in very close contact with a few of them. Now, I've gotten to watch their journeys, and they've been able to see mine. The encouragement you get, the cooking and food questions answered, the ideas you need to bounce off of them, it's priceless. And I could not feel any more blessed by being their friends. This part alone has been well worth the journey. And there you have it, 10 plus 3 bonus things that I wish I knew before I went to culinary school. Some good, some amazing, some things you definitely need to consider. But regardless of what you choose to do, I wish you nothing but luck. Now, just in case you don't want to go to school but want to hone some skills, check out my 10 mistakes every beginner cook makes and how to fix them.